Good day, Brutal Planet listeners. This is Eric Peterson, quarantining from Salt Lake City today. And today, I have the honor of being joined by Mr. Joel Hoekstra. How are you doing today, Joel?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for taking the time out tonight.
Of course. Where are you joining us from?
New York City.
So you're quarantining with us, too?
I mean, whatever the term is for it, I'm relatively laying low. Yes. I
Yes.
mean, honestly, when I'm not out on tour, I'm pretty much home most of the time anyway.
Are you? Okay. How are things there overall for you?
Good, man. I'm really busy. I mean, it's just totally different lay of the land. It's all from home, but between teaching and sessions and cameos and quarantine videos and obviously finishing this album and doing press for it and writing for people, and I mean, I'm doing a lot. I'm really, really busy.
Well, I mean, that's one thing I have noticed is you are a very busy person, and I commend you for that because it's fun, but I sometimes wonder when you have time to sleep.
It's just a different brand of busy this last 10 months or so, and honestly, it took the first 2 months to pretty much just finish the guitar tracks on the album and just take time to catch up with the family. I wasn't really obsessed with building a new schedule at first because I had such a crazy 2019. I mean, I was on the road 285 days that year.
Wow.
So it was like, all right, so 2020 started like it was going to be the same. I was on tour with Whitesnake and we were with the Scorpions in Australia and Indonesia and Singapore and all set to go to Japan. And then all of a sudden it was boom, you're headed home. This COVID thing is crazy. And back then it was only called coronavirus. Nobody was saying COVID.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I headed home and like I said, it took the first 2 months to kind of just tie up some loose ends, like do finish tracking the album and all that stuff. And but yeah, since then I've just kind of kicked it into high gear because I'm like, look, I'm not going to sit around for a year and a half, like burning time, just waiting to get back out on the road. I might as well work, and I don't want to see all my hard work go to waste. I've busted my butt to get this far, so exactly. I'm not really interested in sliding backwards at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because if you just sit and wait, somebody else is going to be in there to jump in and take it.
Yeah, I think you still have to remain ambitious, man. At the end of the day, this stuff always just boils down to hard work.
Exactly.
So the more you can get yourself moving forward and working hard, the better the story is going to be for you in the end, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's not always fun.
No.
Plenty of times I feel like, hey, you know what? I could just sit around for a month. But I think there's just a little bit too much of that going on right now anyway. And at the end of the day, if work is available to you and there's things you can get done, you kind of owe it to yourself and in a way just owe it to society, man. Just like do your best to like work through this thing together.
Exactly.
And so I don't necessarily want to be saying I'm unemployed when there's work I can be doing.
Yeah. Well, the first time I saw you was in 2012. You were on tour with Night Ranger, and then I saw you in 2018 with Whitesnake. You guys were opening up for Foreigner, if I remember right. And
sounds about right.
The thing that always amazed me when I've seen you is you always have the biggest smile on your face, and I love it. It just looks like you're having so much fun up there. Are you?
Yeah, man. What's not to like?
I
mean, I think, that's something that just comes across, I think, from lots and lots of time performing. I think that 6+ years where I was doing Night Ranger with Rock of Ages and Trans-Siberian Orchestra, I mean, I was on a stage like almost like every waking moment for those 6 years.
Yeah.
And really, it's been more of the same. I mean, I just had 2019, we were talking about that, all the way back through 2017. That was all basically Whitesnake, Cher, and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So juggling those three things. So I think just having fun with it and being comfortable and enjoying it just from just doing so much of it.
Yeah.
And just getting to the point where I'm more comfortable up there and have the opportunity to I guess, learn how to interact with people and not just be like staring down at my guitar neck and kind of probably just playing my way through the songs. That making an interactive process is fun for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about your new album, Running Games, coming out.
Yeah, man.
And the new album, it's got. I mean, I've had a chance to listen to it, working on my review for it, and you got Russell Allen, Jeff Scott Soto on there, and a whole cast of characters. How did you hook up with these guys?
So I did the first one of these under the name Joel Hoekstra's 13, called Dying to Live, back in 2015. And so the deal with that was, I thought, well, I want to do something that sounds like a band, but I just am pretty much interested in writing everything. Writing the lyrics and writing the vocal melodies. So hence the project name, Joel Hoekstra's 13, because it's not really a guitar solo album. It pretty much sounds like a band when you listen to it, right? So the difference being is that I'm the one writing it all. So I thought the project name made the most sense. Anyway, the way it all came together in terms of the personnel, that was from finishing the VHF project just before that one with Tony Franklin.
Okay.
And so I thought, Tony's great. I definitely want to have him play bass on it. And he recommended Vinny Appice, and Russell Allen joined Trans-Siberian Orchestra at that time. And I thought, here's the perfect vocalist. Asked him, and he was on board. And then Derek Sherinian, total no-brainer as far as like finding a great, keyboard player to have great sounds and be able to have the perfect foil as a soloist, right? Somebody I can trade with a little bit. And then Jeff Scott Soto, is just the most underrated, most overqualified background vocalist in the history of rock. I'm calling him. Yeah, I mean, Jeff's amazing. He's an amazing background vocalist, and he just is a friend for, doing it for me. I mean, he can sing lead, but he's a part of a million things right now. He needs another project, like A Hole in the Head. So, I don't take offense to it, and he's a great guy for helping me out, because he definitely raises the bar on these records.
Nice. Well, the first song right out of the gate is A Finish Line, and the first I heard that, I went, wow, there's definitely some George Lynch in there, some influence from George Lynch. Would that be fair to say?
I think George was a big influence on me. My first band when I was a kid, that was what we covered. I mean, we covered a ton of Dokken.
Did you really?
So there was several Dokken albums that I wore out as a kid. I would say in that age range of being probably 15 through 17. Listen to a lot of them. 15 through 18, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, somewhere in there, they were a big influence on me in that time period.
Yeah, because that one's, particularly your guitar work in that one, sounds a lot like the Back for the Attack, that era Dokken, which would go right along with that 85 to 89, and then Heart Attack. If I heard that song and I didn't know Russell Allen was singing, I would say that was the perfect song for David Coverdale to sing on.
That was one that I remember writing that riff when I was at the Whitesnake studio. So I don't know if I actually ever played that one for David or not. I can't really remember, but I remember coming up with that on acoustic, I think. Kind of a cool riff on acoustic, actually, to play. But just going for like a bluesy thing and noodling around. So, but thanks. Yeah, I think that of the songs on the album, there's only a couple that kind of fit in that, I guess, blues-based rock thing that Whitesnake has, and that would be one of them.
Yeah. What would the other one be for you?
Oh gosh, you're hitting me up here without the song titles in front of me. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, that's fine. And then one of my favorite songs on the album is "Cried Enough for You." What was the inspiration behind that song?
As far as the riffs, I guess, kind of just going from wanting to have one of those songs that had like the clean setup and verse and kick into like a super heavy chorus, kind of Black Sabbath-y chorus where the vocals sing the riff. And so that's definitely a Black Sabbath influence right there. And I would say even the verse is a kind of a Black Sabbath influence that I look back in like a song like Children of the Sea or something like that, where it's got just kind of like, a clean riff that goes over and over. Somehow in my own world, it came out a little bit different than Black Sabbath, but influenced by them for sure.
Yes, yes. So when you're making your own music, lyrically, do you have anywhere in particular you want it to go with it, or I mean, do you want something socially relevant, or do you want to just take people on an imaginary ride to take their mind off the world?
Socially relevant? No, oh God, no, I'm not socially relevant. There's nothing relevant about me. I wrote the lyrics just kind of in one shot. I remember being in Australia with Cher, and I usually, when I write these songs, I write the choruses, right? So those are always written, pretty much from the time the guitar riff is written. But then I'll just have a melody in mind for the verse, usually, and sometimes not. But the rest of the song, that's all I have in mind, is kind of like a melody of what the singer will be singing. So I finally wrote the lyrics when I was on that road trip with Cher touring Australia and sang the guide vocal for Russell. So I basically recorded myself singing the entire album, just kind of not nearly as good as Russell, of course, right? So anyway, that's what happened there. So the lyrics just come just immediately, like what's on my mind. And so all this stuff is pre-COVID. There's no this is my statement about COVID or any of that type of stuff. So, I think the title Running Games is mainly because I was just touring so much, so a whole lot of it ended up just being lyrics about me traveling a whole lot and my mindset and what's on my mind and that kind of stuff, but I like to stay vague about that stuff and let people find their own meanings in these songs and their own interpretations.
Because the Finish Line song, I mean, you released the video for it, and it kind of almost has I wondered if there was some any symbolism in it related to your hard work and you trying to rise up and that kind of stuff in the song itself.
Yeah, it's definitely, as they would say in Hollywood, based on a true story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like anything that people should take mega literally.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't sprout wings out of my back and fly around at any point in time. But I mean, for me, yeah, I think that there's some definite symbolism there and some realism in there as well. I mean, it's definitely my life story to a degree. So
yeah,
I gave Wayne Joyner just a loose guideline of what the storyline could be, and he just did a great job.
And the other cool part about that song is you talked a little bit about it earlier with Derek, is it's got the keyboard guitars trade-offs, which is really, really cool part of the song.
Yeah, I tried to give Derek a little more room on this record. I think the first one, I wasn't sure when I was writing on the forums just whether or not I was going to have a keyboard player. And I was kind of like, yeah, I want keyboards on it. And so it was sort of, Derek, unfortunately, on Dying to Live, didn't get a ton of room. I think I gave him 2 solos, and then those songs I didn't even have solos in, right? It was like, okay, well, just make that a keyboard solo instead of a guitar solo. But this record, there's definitely a little bit more like keyboard solo, guitar solo. So, and then there's even one where we do a little back and forth and trade a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like, they do on the Yngwie albums and stuff, right?
Exactly.
So it's all good fun, man. I mean, Derek's amazing. He's a machine. I mean, he tracked this thing in 2 days.
Did he
did
really?
Every song in 2 days. Yeah,
wow.
It was pretty amazing.
Wow. I mean, I can't even imagine for you. I mean, how fun it was for you to work with these guys and just say, all right, give me what you got. And that these guys are like the top of their games at what they do.
Yeah, I pretty much, because I write everything, just go with the production style of hands off, in terms of hey, giving those guys notes and things like that. I just let them do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So here are the songs, play the way you want to play on them, and okay, cool. Maybe I'll say something like, hey, could you try this? Or, I think with Derek, maybe I was like, could you add a string pad and this or what, here and there. But for the most part, it was like, these guys know what they're doing. Just stay out of their way. Sorry, I have a little, God, long day of talking, man.
Yes, yes.
This is, I think, interview number 8 today. So.
Oh, is it really?
Marathon man today.
Yeah, you are. So I've been super excited about this because like I said, I've seen you live, and I loved watching you live, and then I found out we're pretty much the same age. I'm like 2 or 3 months older than you, so it's super fun for me to realize that somebody like you and I grew up in the same era with MTV and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to ask you about some of the guitar players that influenced you during those days.
Sure.
Um, so I just wanted to. I mean, we talked about George Lynch a little bit, but I hear a little bit of Tracy Guns in you. Would you say that's fair?
Probably not like mega influenced by him, but
Yeah.
I really respect his playing a lot. I think he's a great player. I didn't grow up listening to Tracy, but I ran across, really realized how good he was one night after Night Ranger did a gig, and then he was headlining inside a venue with LA Guns, and it was like, wow, man, this guy's throwing down, man. Wicked tone and wicked player. So anyway, I sort of like got to respect him after the fact.
Yeah. What about obviously like Steve Vai?
Steve was I really loved Passion and Warfare when I was a teen. So I don't know how old I was at that point. Like, I guess we were about 18.
Yeah, I would say 18 or 19.
18 years old.
Yeah.
So I loved that record. I mean, I definitely wore that out. So that was probably my favorite Vice stuff. That and some of the stuff on Flexible, like, I mean, Little Green Men and the Attitude Song, and that stuff's awesome.
And I love some of his work with on the David Lee Roth album.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Eat 'em and Smile's just wicked record, man. That's just a great record across the board. So that was a great era period, that whole thing. Those two bands competing against each other was great stuff.
How about like John Sykes?
Yeah, man. I mean, John's amazing. Great. The '87 record, and I loved one. I forget which Blue Murder record, but I used to work at Guitar Center for a minute. It was on in there like all the time, and I loved it. That was a great record. So I did listen to Blue Murder, during that time period. I was never the guy who went out and bought like every album from everybody or every cassette tape, but definitely dug John, and he's a great player.
And the one that I was questionable about, but I really wanted to ask you about was Nuno Bettencourt.
Nuno was, let's see. Now, I was in Hollywood going to GIT, and Extreme and Alice in Chains played, and not too far away from where I live. So we went to the show, and I was up front, and this was like a small venue, so they were not like ginormo yet, right? And I remember being in the front row and being tall enough to like just jump up and grab a pick off Nuno's stand, which happened in my lifetime, which is like insane to think about that I did that.
Yeah.
So I guess I was about 19 and jumped up and grabbed the pick off his stand. It was like awesome. And then here I am years later and, know all those guys, and they're all awesome guys. We played basketball together on the cruise this year, which was
that's
so fun
funny.
on the Monsters of Rock cruise.
Yeah.
So in terms of being an influence, at that point, I was probably working on my own thing a little bit more, being 19 already at the point where Nuno was really breaking. So most of the guys that had the bigger impact on me were the people when I was 11 through 18, in that kind of range.
Yeah, like the Angus Youngs and the...
Angus is what made me want to start more than anything.
Yeah.
Just his whole energy but I mean, I tried to go through all my influences for somebody earlier today, at least give them like a top 5, and it spilled way over. I think I ended up giving them like 10 names. It's really hard for me to give like 5 people,
Oh. Because I think for me, one of the most underrated ones that stands out there for me from the 80s was Dave Meniketti.
Yeah, he's great, man. Dave's great. I see him on the Monsters of Rock cruise basically every year. He's a recurring artist on there. So in fact, I borrow his rhythm section from him for my acoustic show every year.
Oh, do you really?
So, yeah. So he's a sport, and he supports me in that endeavor.
Nice.
Say, hey, you don't mind if I steal your drummer and bass player for this set, dude? So anyway, he's a great guy, man. Great player.
So moving forward from this, when the shit calms down, what do you hope you're going to be able to do after? I mean, is this something you ever want to tour with, or just it's a studio only thing, or?
We played one show on the Monsters of Rock cruise in support of Dying to Live, so it has happened, and you never know. I mean, it's funny that every single interview I've done is asked about whether or not I'm going to tour it, and at this point, we don't even know if there's ever going to be touring again.
True,
right? So
true.
I definitely don't want to. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched, and to put it together, who knows? Because it's going to require seeing what everybody's schedule looks like and whether or not that's a possibility. But definitely would love to support it, man, and play live if I can. Sure, that'd be great.
Do you think? I mean, with the way things have gone down, I mean, is touring ever going to be the same again?
Have no idea, man. My mindset is that let's go about every day and be productive and just say it's not coming back.
Yeah.
That way, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's going to be at this time frame, and then if it's pushed back another 6 months, I'm devastated.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people still like going with that mindset of like hanging out and just going like, well, just waiting for things to open back up. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm going to town, man. I'm like working my butt off right now. So I'm busy all day, every day, pretty much right now.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, Joel, it's been amazing talking to you, and I appreciate your time. And I'd just like to encourage everybody to go pick up Running Games on February 12th, correct?
Yeah, February 12th, man. Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you dig the album.
Oh, I totally dig it. I mean, like I said, I hear it and I think, who would Joel be channeling in these songs? You know what? I mean, influentially, like I said, I love it. So
I think most of it for me on these records has to do with more just trying to create something that me as a listener, what I would have liked to hear, or what I would want to hear out of like just like a solid rock album.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like, create some fancy prog album or anything like that. It's like pretty much just like melodic hard rock.
Exactly.
Here. And hopefully well played and well written, right? So none of this stuff is too arty or too like crazy, and so that's either your cup of tea or it isn't. There's some people that are going to want like a really adventurous experimental thing. Well, that it's probably not the album for them. I mean, I'm going with like melodic hard rock that I say is Dio-ish at its heaviest and Foreigner-ish at its lightest.
Yeah.
That's how I describe the sound of it. So
something you can sing along to and jam.
Yeah, man. So it's not really about the guitar solos or anything like that. It's about the songs, like what I'd want to hear. So that's when we talk about the influences. It's almost like we should be talking more about the bands,
true,
more than the guitar players themselves,
true.
Because that's what my mindset is in on it. It's like, what band does that sound like?
Yeah. True. Well, like I said, the songs I've listened to the whole album. I love it, and I think everybody else that loves exactly what you're talking about is going to love it too. So
sweet.
So
well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the positive feedback. Appreciate your time in the interview, and wish you well through all this, man. Hopefully, you can get back out on the road and we can have an opportunity to say hello here at some point.
Exactly, and I'm just wanting to get out and see a live show and take some photos. So.
I've never wanted to say hello to all the journalists so much in my life. I mean,
exactly.
I would do anything. Have the opportunity for you and I to be backstage and be like, "Oh, awesome, dude!"
Yes, exactly.
So I'm dying for those days.
Yes,
it'd be a wonderful thing.
All right.
Anyway,
well, thanks, Joel.
Cheers. Thank you so much for taking the time.